Hello, we're going to talk about winter dendrology and how you can study wetland plants in winter. We are in a beautiful sunny day in mid-February. In fact, it's Valentine's Day, and all around us, Mother Nature has packaged this last fall little gifts. These gifts won't open up, these little packages won't open up for another 2 months. But it's an amazing feature of trees and shrubs is that they produce their flowering and leaf buds the previous fall, put them inside these little buds, winter buds, and then the first warm days of summer in late April, these open up. I first heard about dendrology, the study of woody plants, about 15 years ago. I thought I knew my trees and shrubs. I had a good understanding of the different species around here. But when I really got into dendrology, I was amazed. I started to sketch the different wetland species. These are two of my favorite subjects. Dendrology is the study of trees. We know majestic trees 60 feet tall that bring the water and the minerals up from the soil into a factory of their leaves where they photosynthesize. So they have two highways, the phlegm going up to bring the minerals up, then they produce starch and sugars that feed back down on the xylem to the different parts of the trees. Trees are so important for protecting the environment. But we forget about the shrubs, and this wetland dendrology has really focused on the shrubs. There are 4 kinds of wetlands, but only one wetland really has a lot of trees. Swamp is 50% made of trees. So we cover things like black spruce, black ash, and balsam fir, that are really important in swamps, but marshes, fens, and bogs usually have shrubs, not trees, low shrubs. And we're going to talk about some of these today. These willow trees beside me, we are going to look at the red leaves of the pussy willows. The pussy willows are out. They came out on Groundhog's Day. They're very precocious. They get out very early, the male catkins. We have a pine cone willow gall here on this willow, and on this willow, the slender willow, we have a beaked stem willow gall. So these are 2 galls made by insects, but these buds on the different willow trees we'll talk more about in the second video. The big thing is that there are alders and willows in wetlands that's so important to filter and keep the water pure, keep the erosion down, filter the impurities. And this is a little subdivision. We've come out of the Lake Simcoe watershed up into the Severn watershed here, just north of Aurelia, and the community group have made a lagoon here. It's kind of neat. They're using this filtering area for winter recreation, and these trees are and shrubs are so important for wetland dendrology. So 15 years ago, I found out about dendrology. 6 years ago, I decided I'd sketch every species, make sketches, and do workshops. 4 years ago, I started with the coniferous trees and shrubs, and I drew out all those black spruce and balsam fir that we talked about. The year after that, I did deciduous trees. There were probably about 20, just over 20 coniferous trees. Deciduous trees, I was up into 40. The third year, I did upland shrubs, and we were getting up to 60 to 70. And this year, I saved for wetland shrubs. I had over 100. So I had to come up with a better key of how to key out these 100 species. So I made up a little mnemonic. It's called wet spear. S-P-E-A-R. Wet for the coefficient of wetland. Each plant has a coefficient and a wetland index. So species like these willows will be an obligate. OBL -5. You know it wants to grow on in near water. An upland species will be a well-drained area. It's going to have UPL +5. So we're looking for facilitative or obligate wetland species here. And this helps you identify the species. So the wet stands for the wet coefficient. The S is the size. Some of these are low, like the bog willow only gets a meter high. Some of these get quite high. So the S stands for size. The next is the placement. If we look at this bud, there's a bud here, alternate bud here, alternating back and forth. This is called alternate. Some have opposite, one here and one the opposite side. So the first thing we do is look, is it alternate or opposite for the placement? So that's the SP, and E for evergreen. Some trees and shrubs keep their leaves all winter. They're called evergreen. The A is it armed? Does it have bristles or thorns or spines or prickles on the stem? This one is smooth, and so A for armed, and R is for runner. So runners are the vines. So is it a creeping or climbing vine that goes up the trees? So you can identify any shrub you see in the winter by remembering wet for wetness coefficient, the S for size, spear, SP for the placement, E for the evergreen, A for is it armed with prickles or thorns, and R is it an upright or is it a low twining vine. We moved over to the other side of the lagoon here where they're playing hockey behind us, and if you start looking you can see about 6 different species of willows and alders in here. Some of the willows have golden twigs, some have red twigs. And so 4 years ago when I did the coniferous, I started to do the black spruce and the trees in wetlands. So that was my first booklet. But then I realized that foresters and arborists really don't go much beyond cutting trees and what trees are good for harvest. They come up and cut balsam fir. Balsam fir is a wonderful tree that should never be cut. And so I came up with this second booklet on cutting a balsam fir that is protecting the wetland and stabilizing, preventing erosion. I used that up in Algonquin Park at the Logging Museum, and then we went 3 years ago to winter dendrology, deciduous trees. So after the deciduous trees, and I'm still drawing all these things like the black spruce and the viburnums to the different species, the white spruce, and then we went to upland deciduous shrubs, covering all the shrubs in uplands. This is our final workshop on wetland shrubs. So we know how important and how numerous wetland shrubs are, and this is what we want to learn today, is the different species of shrubs, what they're doing out there, and how they're protecting. And this is a neat area with a lagoon. You can see the locals are using it for recreation, and so it even has another advantage. So these settlement and drainage areas are so important. We should never fill in wetlands and protect the wetland deciduous shrubs. We are going to complete this winter dendrology workshop here on the banks of Silver Creek as it comes out of the swamp, flows into the North River and out into Georgian Bay. It's lined with many species of wetland shrubs, and we can see the opposite buds of the purple willow. We see the shining willow, the golden, the slender willow, the red of the Percy willow behind us. These shrubs are so important for the health of the wetlands, and now Mother Nature will warm up in 2 months, and these shrubs that have prepared last fall and packed all their flowers and leaves into these little packages will open up within 2 months, and we'll have, though it's Valentine's today, 2 months from now, Mother Nature's gifts will be wide open, and the whole forest will be in leaf and flower.